Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility. In the co-captain's chair today, we've got Mr. Rick Labonte. What's going on, Rick?
You know what's going on? It's the
He's
new
wearing a
Deep
shirt, so that should
Purple.
give it all away, right?
I'm wearing it proudly. So yes, we've been waiting for this. We know it was coming for quite some time, and if you're a fan of Pete's show, and he talked about the last record, we didn't want him to end on a cover album. We hoped that if there was another album on them, we did want that to come about, and sure enough, it happened. However, we didn't think there was going to be a personnel change by that time. That was a little taken by surprise. Just when we finally got a lot of long time Deep Purple friends getting used to the idea that Steve Morse is the guy. He had, I don't know, like 9 albums later, and he done that. There was a change. So that was something that went off the hop. I'm like, whew, I was nervous about a new guy on the scene. And so I had to be honest. That was the first thing I was like, okay. And then they gave us a couple of singles and they showed us that, hey, we're okay. We're safe with this lineup. And I got to say, I was impressed with what I heard. So what about
Yeah,
you?
yeah, absolutely. So the album is called Equals One. Don't really know what that means. It's we're on what are we on? Edel Records. This is their 23rd studio album. We knew ahead of time what the album artwork was going to be and what the name of it was going to be. And I apologize for the darkness, but every time you show something really white on camera, it's just the camera does all
Yeah.
this weird stuff. Let's elephant in the room right now is the packaging. So this is pretty terrible in my opinion. It's
Yes.
got like basically like just scribble stuff for the songs, and they're all like just kind of thrown in there with commas and the plain white wraparound with it's I don't know what this is. This is to me really lazy, and I don't know what
Especially
they're
when you
told.
know how much involved musically and the songwriting is so it's well thought and there's a good they could have put a little more thought on the cover. I mean, it wasn't even purple like they did with this one. At least that was had a
And that's
big
not
giant
great either,
purple.
but right, but at least that
Yeah,
is like,
yeah, and you see the name now. With the problem with the world we live in today, not everybody's a physical junkie like you and I. And if this is all you saw in a square piece, you're not gonna make it out. And honestly, sometimes as we know and we learn from our own youth, or probably to the same effect to anybody today, sometimes the album cover gets you want to buy the record. If they had something cool, Deep Purple, even the word melting or whatever on, it's just that it would be more to grab. Now, hey, they're not the Beatles. We already got the Beatles White Album. So,
yeah.
but anyway, other than that, I did like the inside a lot better. This
Well,
is
and
why I wanted
that's
to
where it
talk
all
about.
starts to come in, right? Because now all of a sudden
Yeah,
you open it up and you're like, oh, well,
yeah,
that's
that's really
kind of
cool. And in
cool.
fact, you can line up your disc to be exactly like the picture below. I usually wouldn't put it away unless it's exactly the same. See the moon there? You put it right there. And make sure it's lined up the same. And but yeah, they got a cool booklet in there. And honestly, you didn't really need to, but because the lyrics are so clear. Ian, you got all his lyrics are on here, but honestly, the album was mixed so well, and I hear everything. I hear every verse, chorus. It's done really well.
I will agree with you. It is nice to be able to read the lyrics pretty easily. However,
Yeah,
fail number
the
two
book
is
is
there is not one photograph of the band
nope.
anywhere. And you've got a brand new lineup with a brand new guitar player in Simon McBride, and you don't even show him off here. Come on, guys. I know this is not really the band's fault. This is more like the marketing groups and all that kind
Yeah.
of label, but right there, that just annoys the crap out of me.
I
However,
mean, I
that's
mean,
that's
we
really
didn't
all
want to see him
negative.
like this either.
Yeah, well,
But anyway, that was a joke. But I mean, I agree because when you see the other albums, they were a little more thought went to it.
yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah. So again, we're produced once again by Bob Ezrin, who now has been working with the band for a number of years. This is album number five in a row, right? From the counting the covers album. So we've got Ian Gillan on vocals. We've got brand new guy Simon McBride on guitar, Roger Glover bass, Ian Pace on drums, and Don Airy on keyboards, of course. All songs listed as written by the band with Ezrin, so everybody's getting credits on here.
Hmm.
which is kind of cool. And yeah, um, and let's talk about Simon McBride a little bit. So, we got Steve Morse was in the band for a long time, all those records. A lot of people, got really used to Steve being in the band. And some people also never really felt he was a great fit. You see both kind of ends of the spectrum here. I quite frankly always thought he was a good fit. He was
Me
different than
too.
Blackmore. That's a good thing. But I came to love his time in Purple, and I really like most of those albums.
Me too.
Um, so I was a little disappointed when he left, and obviously I had Steve on the channel. He explained it all. His wife was
And
sick.
I had a guitar pick from his last show in Windsor as a Deep Purple member. So, yeah, I'd hate to see him go.
Yeah. But
And you
Simon,
know,
he's got some history. He's played with Ian before, right?
mhm.
So, and he's not a big name by any means. He's got a different look. He's got short hair. He plays like a mix of Les Pauls and Paul Reed Smith guitars, right? So he's got a little bit of different look and whatnot. But I will tell you, he fits right in here.
Well, he
Fit.
sounds really good. He also knew he must have been a Purple fan because he sounds like he was given all uh, the the recognition of all the players beforehand because it's all summed up in here. But my first time to like see if this was an album to pass the audition, he passed it with a high
Yeah.
grade. But I was impatient. I mean, I only had a couple of songs that we were told, so I went and grabbed one of his records, and I learned that first of all that from having the 2018 album that he played on this Don Aries record. So, and I heard it, and I like what he did, and still wasn't sure if he was the right fit. So I got this, and I like it, and it's like what we like about Joe Bonamassa. He definitely a blues scholar. He learned that, but he can shred just like Steve Morse. He has some of the tones very similar to some of those cats in the past. So I think he does the stuff with justice. Now, do you have the second CD, the second one, the
I've
DVD
got
with
it
it?
came with the CD and the DVD. That's what I.
Yeah, so do I. So when you watch that, folks, there's a documentary, and they do pay a lot of a little warm message to their friend Steve, saying how they love him. He's a great guy to work with, and due to the things in his life, they had to go on. And but they treated the new cat in the band the same as they treated him. They wanted you to be you, but we also want to respect fans. So find that balance. Basically, they know you can't copy people, so they wanted him to be himself. But to me, I think he checked all that boxes, and there is his own personality in here. But he also give you all those signature stuff that we love about Blackmore or Morris in some of these songs. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you hit on what you mentioned. You mentioned Blackmore, right? So I think that for the folks who maybe thought that Steve's style was maybe a little bit too artsy or too kind of American sounding, because I've heard these things from people over the years. I don't necessarily agree with it. One of the things that I realized when they were releasing the singles, because I heard it, he's got this kind of wildness to his playing
Hmm.
that may remind some people of the glory years of Blackmore being in this band.
Yes.
He doesn't sound like him, but he's got a much more aggressive tone than Morse has. It's not better, it's not worse, right? It's just different. And I think that this album, because of that, rocks as hard as anything this band has done, probably since the Abandon album, which was Steve's second album with the band, which is one of their heavier albums.
That is one of
And
the
this one
heaviest
rocks a
records.
lot like that. And I think they realized they had that. And I don't know whether that's Ezrin's deal or whether the band decided to, but because I always felt, I don't know about you, Rick, I always felt that Ezrin on the other three studio albums, I'm not counting the covers albums, he kind of tempered Morse a little bit to have more Don Arian to make the albums a little bit more symphonic and progressive. Whereas I think with Simon in the band now, all of a sudden they're like, all right, we're going to put out a guitar album, which kind of sucks for Morse, right? Because I think he always wanted to have a little bit more of a influence on those other three records, and he's on them plenty. But I get the feeling that this is much more of a back to basics, heavy rock guitar Hammond album than anything that Ezrin has done with the band since he first started working with them. That's the way I take it.
I
It's
would
not a
think
bad
that,
thing.
well, but think about it. Remember the first two albums that they did, or the first three albums with Steve Moore? They were coming up a little heavy and they're coming rock. And he's a new kid in town, so he had a lot. Now they're more seasoned, they're relaxed, they don't have anything to show. Now they were thinking about song. And I honestly felt the last three albums, with not counting the covers, like you said, is a very more progressive, proggy nature in there, where this is more back to hard rock the way it worked out. And if you learn some of the interviews and even the video, the DVD will tell you a lot of this happened at a sound check, jamming, and just like most of the classic, most accessible Deep Purple, the ones that people always ask them for at every show, are the ones that were put together real quick because it felt right. It wasn't overly thinking in their own personality because they're so talented. It's still going to be a wow factor, but the arrangement wasn't that hard to complex. Whereas the other albums here, they were a lot more thought process and arrangement. You could tell. You could tell. I'm not saying this is the more simplified. It's not. It's just more rock, and it wasn't to be as a serious, artistic statement. It's to like, let's have fun. Go back to the basic. What got us rocking in the first place? And honestly, through these songs, and we can talk about some of the tracks, there's a lot of, if you're a fan of In Rock, or Who Do You Think We Are, or if you want a little bit of the Mark III period, or a little bit of the Perfect Stranger bit, there's a little bit of sonically pieces of music that is all through the discography in this album that I find. Even
Yep.
if it's 20 seconds or a half a minute, you get a little piece of that familiar territory. And that's why we love the last recent Uriah Heep album, because they were still fresh, still new, but they give you that signature sound, or that welcoming vibe that you always knew about that band, that they didn't lose their sight. For a new kid in town, you would think he'd been playing with this band for years because he sounds like a Deep Purple member.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love his tone. He's got crazy good chops. I think he fits right in. I mean, we might as well start talking about some of the songs, right? The first
Yeah.
track, Show Me, killer. This album just hits you with a bang right off the bat because
Yeah.
really
It's a
the
different way to
first
intro.
four songs are just rocking heavy and just classic Purple sounding. I mean, Show Me is just great,
Yeah.
upbeat, a lot of chugging riffs and Hammond riffs on this.
Like honestly, that's a different beginning for a Deep Purple intro. And strutting down and that kick drum kicking in right off the bat. But right off the gate, they're like, you guys are listening, you're in for a treat.
Yeah.
And then the second song, probably one of my favorite ones in there, Bit on
Oh,
the
bit on the
Side.
side. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, what a great rocker, eh, buddy?
I like that a lot. And again,
Hmm.
I like I mean, there's some good, just kind of chugging heavy rock stuff going on here. And I love how almost every song has like a cool guitar, Hammond or synth kind of call and response,
Yes,
solo
that
played off thing,
interplay between
which
them
is
two.
really
Yes.
good. And I mean, everybody always mentions on these newer Purple albums, they're like, well, what about Ian Gillan, right? Uh, I think when Ian is like on Show Me, I think he just sounds like he's having a blast. You could tell he's got the limitations with the voice, right? I mean, everybody knows it. We've all seen him live. We know he's not the screaming Ian of the old
And
days,
she
but
has
I
beaten the
think
past.
he knows how to kind of play in his lane, so to speak. And I think there's like one or two songs on this album where he's trying to stretch it a little bit further than his voice can really do. But I think on these kind of hard rockers, he's doing this kind of playful thing that really kind of works. I think on these songs he sounds great. I think Sharpshooter is another one, and the
Oh
choruses
yeah.
on this album are very good. And I think like Sharpshooter is a terrific hard rock song. I think you got Ian Pace is
Oh
just sitting
yeah.
back there in the
Big time.
pocket. Really good soloing on this one. A lot of good Hammond organ from Don on this one.
The
Really good.
rhythm section really stands out. And to me, it's got all that cool stuff that we like about Mark II and Mark III. The combination of the rhythm and the tone. So it's really, really well done. It does sound like old school Deep Purple. I mean,
It
anybody
does.
listen to that, want to compare, they're gonna say, "Hey, that does sound like something they want to hear from Deep Purple for sure." It's one
Yeah,
of
I
my
mean, they don't
favorite
on
bands.
this album, there's a lot of energy on this album, and they don't really
Yes,
sound like a bunch of, 75 plus year old guys. I mean, they sound like they still have a lot to offer. And I thought so. Like the first, Portable Door was the first single released. And as soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh boy, we are in for a treat, I think, if the rest of the album is like this. And that's track number 4. So for me, the first 4 tunes just are stellar. To me, that it doesn't really start. I don't really get any kind of slight hiccup until the song that comes next. But Portable Door is really good. Great heavy Hammond organ, great riffing, stellar solo from Don. You got a great solo from Simon.
and
Catchy,
great
quirky
vocal
tune.
melody. And
Yeah,
I gotta be honest. Some of the times I didn't want Ian to scream like a banshee in some songs. It only suits certain songs like "Child in Time." I mean, I have a bootleg of him performing Black Sabbath, and I love Born Again album. But when he was singing all that high stuff and screaming on some of those Sabbath tunes, I was saying, dude, don't have to do that. We know you can do it. Stop showing off. Sing the song. Because when he started just doing the verses, he's awesome. And here, I think this album and this song and another example, the phrasing is wonderful. The way he coming up with these melodic melodies, they're catchy. So he doesn't have to try to show off as the high register. Just stick in your lane. Do what you do good because his conversational lyrically, it's still the same, and that's the Gillen that we all want to hear. Tell
yeah.
us some more stories. Tell us another conversation. And let's face it, I can hear every word. I know what everything he's saying. It's very clear. So that's the most important. I want to hear the message, not to see what you could do as high. If it calls for that in a song, so be it. But don't force it. And that's what I think about this. He was more concentrating on the melody and what he had to say than to show off his voice. And that's what I
Yeah.
think is great.
Next up is Old Fangled Thing. That's my least favorite song on the album. And it's more of a kind of like a lighthearted, whimsical piece, and Ian is kind of like talking through. It's kind of like that anyone's daughter type of thing.
Yeah.
But here's the crazy thing. The whole first half of the song is like that. I'm kind of like, I don't really dig this too much. But then, like in the middle of the song, they go into this like heavy breakdown and then this screaming solo from Simon. I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? I wish
And
the
then
whole song was like that.
the drums are
So
great.
half the song I don't really like too much. I like that middle section. The rest of it, I'm not really a big fan. But from there, it goes in all sorts of different directions. You got If I Were You, which is kind of like
A ballad.
a ballad, like a bluesy number. Again, I think Ian is trying to sing on this song. I think that from a vocal perspective, this is probably my least favorite. This and Old Fangled Thing are probably my least favorites because I think he's trying to reach some places that he probably can't do anymore. But the song is not bad. It's a good kind of bluesy ballad. I like the fact they threw this in there because it kind of like breaks up. You have all these bangers that start off the album, so I don't mind it
Absolutely.
too much.
I mean, it's like and this is where I felt that he was trying to do what he did in Perfect Strangers with Wasted Sunset
Sunsets, yeah,
or When the Blind Man Cries. He needed some kind of like that. But the other ballad that he does later on is much better vocally and performance wise. But I agree with what you're saying. It's not the strongest vocal performance of the whole record. Not bad, but compared to the other songs, there were more stronger takes. But it ain't it's not no Wasted Sunset. But the guitar and the music though is really
yeah,
good.
yeah. It's good. It's good. Pictures of You, good mid-pace rocker, real catchy chorus. I love the blending of the guitars and the Hammond organ, and I think Ian sounds great on this one.
Me too.
All right, you got a nice little solo from Simon on here. That's a good song.
I
I'm
love
saying
the
nothing.
volume control at the end. That's the Blackmore thing.
Oh, for
Right at
sure.
the very end when they go really soft and that's what Blackmore used to do live a lot.
Yeah.
And to add that in, that was a little icing on the
And
cake.
Steve also did that a lot too,
Yes,
especially
she
live.
did. He
Yeah.
did. Yes, she did.
So that was kind of a nice little throw in there. So
Yeah.
that's good. I'm saying nothing is a great track. I mean,
Oh,
that's just like this snarling bluesy hard rocker with a great riff. And I think Ian sings that kind of stuff really good because he's got
me
kind
too.
of this like badass kind of playful way that he delivers his vocals. Again, doesn't need to scream because he can't anymore, but that's really good. It's almost like he's doing it with like an evil grin, right? You can just picture
That's
Ian,
right.
and
He's in character. He's in character. You
he's
can
in
see him
character.
like
Yeah,
the guy that's tying the girl down in the railroad tracks, joking
I
around.
know exactly, and I think he's
You know what I mean?
perfect in that song.
And
And
then
again, so many songs on this album have great solo exchanges
I was
from
just gonna
Don
say
Aaron.
that in that song in particular, the interplay between them two, they
So
must
good.
had a riot. And you know, this is gonna really translate live really well on stage. It's just like what we love about Made in Japan when Lord and Richie would go back and forth. They did it on the studio records, not just waiting for the live opportunity. They put it on album, so that's awesome. You know you're gonna get that when you hear them do it live.
I'm hoping so because I have tickets to go see them in Bethel Woods in early
Me
September,
too.
and
I got
I'm
them in
hoping they
Toronto.
play at least 3 or 4 songs off this album because I think it'd be really good, really good. Next up is Lazy Sod. That's the most recent single they released.
Yep,
That's just good old school British heavy rock, right? I mean,
great
good
guitar
chubby
work
riff,
also.
swirling Hammond, memorable chorus. I mean,
And I guess that came from a conversation about Dolly Parton writing over 5,000 songs. And he was asked how many songs, and he was proud, saying, like, I don't know, under 500. And he go, 500? You
Lazy
lazy.
Sod.
Somebody, so that was the joke. And you know how Ian can take a window of opportunity and write something. That's how Smoke on the Water. It was like something that happened or a conversation, and he'll write a song about it. And it came down so quickly and effectively.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like it a lot. Now you're talking another fast-paced,
Awesome tune.
high-energy rocker, which perhaps for all those who want to hear Ian Gillan at least attempting to sound like his younger self, this is probably the song. He's
I
very
agree.
aggressive on this tune, and I think it really works because he's not trying to overextend himself, but he's spewing all sorts of stuff on this great unison guitar and keyboard stuff. It's another one of my favorites on here.
Me too. The driving organ and the rhythm section is cooking big time. But there is three guitar personalities in here. We do get more some of that shredding thing. You get some of that moody Blackmore, but McBride put his own personality in some of this stuff, and it's great. He had some cool wow factor. You can tell this guy is been playing guitar all his life. It's an extension of
Yeah.
himself. And but this is what I love about now you're talking because just in a title, you want to talk about Deep Purple. This is the song, and you're gonna come back saying now you're talking because this is a great example of what Deep Purple should sound like.
Yeah, it's one of the heavier and faster songs on the record, and I think I was reading somewhere compared it maybe to like this album's version of like Speed King or something like that. Maybe, perhaps, right? Really good. No Money to Burn,
Oh yeah,
groovy track, right? Groovy, heavy.
I
Got a
love
big
it.
grinding riff from Simon and Don. Lots of Hammond organ. Great solo from
Oh,
Simon. Killer
emotional.
song. Killer song.
A great song. To me, it's something very similar to the, who do you think we are, rap, bop, blue, or something. I don't know. Give me that vibe anyway.
Yep, yeah, for sure. And then the last 2 tracks, you got I'll Catch You, which that to me is this album's Wasted Sunset. You mentioned it
That's
before, and
right.
I
I
wrote
was
it in
gonna
my
say
notes.
the same thing, pal.
Yeah, it's just and it's not like it's got a similar melody, but it kind of floats in that same way. It's got this sense of melancholy. It
Right.
sounded good, nice melodies, emotional, slower solo from Simon, like Rick mentioned before. He can do kind of all these different things. I could actually have pictured Steve Morse playing in this song as well because I think he would have fit his kind of style. Would I could just almost hear him, coming around the corner with that little Morseism thing there. But it's a good track. This is a good one.
I agree. I totally.
One of the
And it
mellower tracks
feels
on the album.
And it also feels like a live take too, live in the room, even the guitar, and it sounds like we could clean that up in the studio, but he didn't. It was too emotional, and you gotta leave it like it is. And I think that was really cool. It feels like it was live off the floor. And the only thing I would also add, the vocal approach, vocally, this is a really this is a shining moment for him on this record. I think the vocal is awesome, and this is where I think it's in that ballpark of Wasted Sunsets.
Yeah, I think so. It just reminds that's that kind of song, right? So it's really good. And then last but not least is Bleeding Obvious. That's how you close an album, man. I get on a lot of bands
Oh
when they
man,
close an
no
album with
kidding.
like a ballad or something mellow. I'm like, no, you got to go out with a bang because this album starts with a bang and you got to go out with a bang. Bleeding Obvious is kick ass. It's
Oh
heavy,
yeah.
big chugging riff. And then Simon's solo on this one is arguably his best one on
Oh
here.
man,
He's just going berserk in like typical like Blackmore fashion circa 1971.
big time.
Yeah, it's
Big time.
just
And you know what? I mean, in the beginning, that it starts off with like a guitar loop kind of thing. We'd have to do that live to play this song. Loop, and it plays a solo on top of that, and it did on top of that, and then it goes off of the band. What a great band song. And it was like a great way to end an album, grand finale. And also, let's mention this. Would be considered an epic because the longest track in an album is 5:50, and this is it. The
yeah.
most of the songs are like 3 minute and change or four something, never get past the 5 minute mark. So that's why we think it's impressive. And the album is 13 tracks, pushing at 52 minutes, which is a perfectly good album length. And you walk away with a full diet saying, yeah, I got a belly full and some. Can I have the check, please? Because it was a well done record in terms of how you want to start, how you want to end it, and showing the ingredients of what makes the Deep Purple record for vocally, the drum, the bass, keyboard, the guitar, what you expect. But being a new kid in town, new for us as a fan, he felt like he's a long-term player, like he's been around for a long time because it gels really nice with the current lineup, and it
Yeah.
really does well. Uh,
Yeah. To
am
me,
I thinking it's better than some of these? I'm not there yet because I just got it Friday, but all I can say is that every time I played it, I'm loving it more and more and more. Usually with these albums, I was just impressed right off the hop. I was impressed, I still am, and I would love those songs equally as I first heard them. But this one, I've been, I know it's on, a couple of days ago, but
a couple days.
it's like already I'm liking it, growing and growing, and I'm getting more out of it. Could they throw a lot in those 3 little minutes of track? There's a lot
Yeah,
going
they
on.
do. Yeah, because I know people are going to be asking, well, how does it rank with the other ones produced by Ezra? How does it rank in their catalog? It's way too soon to tell. And even like thinking like, what do I rate this? Because I think I gave all those other ones, with the exception of the covers albums, either 4.5 or 5 out of 5 star, right?
You did.
And some people are like, well, how can you do that? Are you saying these albums are as good as like In Rock or Machine Head or Fireball or Burn? No, they're just different, right? It's like those are
Right.
absolute classics, but these are hopefully classics of the later era, right? We'll see 20 years from now or
And that's
whatever.
how we feel about the Morse package now. We had that history, and so we feel that way because hey, we didn't burn those songs out, and there's still impressive material.
Yeah.
Just a shame that some of us out there don't know it, and that's why we're even talking about it. But going to give them for their own merit, besides the cover, because that's the only thing that's got a negative feedback, is that everybody I seen or heard about it saying, why did you do it this way? Because definitely a lot more thought went into the arrangement and the music and the sonically than it went to the outside.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, I could probably give this 4.5 out of 5 star. I mean,
Oh,
it's
for
it's
sure,
really good. To
for sure.
me, there's two songs on here that are not as good as the rest, but
That's right.
11 out of 13 bangers that I really dig a lot. That's pretty good odds, I think. So yeah, I mean, I think the songs I really like on here, I really, really like a lot. So
Me too.
yeah, I would urge anybody who hasn't already gotten this, if you've been waiting for us to tell you, well, we told you, go out and get it. Don't
Yeah,
waste
it is.
time.
He's worth that. He passed the audition, and we'll see him in Toronto, and you're gonna see him.
Bethel, New York. Yeah.
Okay, and maybe we'll
The
follow
old
up.
Woodstock grounds. That's where I'm going.
Okay, well, maybe we'll follow up and tell everybody our experience later on about how that went down.
Yeah.
We have Yes is an opening act. You too?
Yep.
Okay, so that's more to talk about. And also on that note, folks, the next time we get together in the future, we'll be talking about the live albums of Deep Purple, right, my friend?
Yes, that's right. Live album Love will be the next installment. That'll be coming up fairly soon. So Rick and I will be talking about the boatload of live albums that are available
Yes.
from
We'll
this
break
band.
it
There's a
down
lot
by
of them.
marks. There's 9 marks in this band now.
Yeah.
We haven't heard the live album from this new cat yet,
Not
but
yet.
on the DVD, they
Not
do show him performing some of those songs, just so you know. if you want to see him doing some of the old numbers, he does it with justice. You'll be proud.
Yeah. And he's been out on the road with the band for like a year now.
A
So
year now.
a lot
But
of
like I
folks have
said, it
probably
seems
already had a
longer
chance to
when you
see
see
him.
how
Yeah.
much they gel in here. You know what I mean when you get this, folks.
Yeah. So we'll see. Will this mean that we'll get even more studio albums after this? I don't know, because I mean, equal one doesn't really mean anything. It's not like this is the last, it's or I don't know. To me,
But like you said before, we didn't want him to go out on this note, so we're happy that this happened.
yeah, if this is
That's
the
another
final
bonus.
album, we'll see. But judging by how good this is, they'd be crazy to stop recording because this is I'm going to say it right here. This is the heaviest album in the Deep Purple catalog in a long time. To me,
Since
it's the heaviest album
Abandoned.
they've done since Abandon because Abandon is
Oh
pretty
yeah, for
heavy.
sure.
But that was late '90s, right? So that's a long time ago. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, I
Rick and I
believe
both
that's
love it.
98, 1998.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah,
that's a long time ago.
yeah.
That's way too long.
So, and then again, you said it earlier, and we won't care much longer, but I just want to say, you wouldn't believe that the age of these guys, though, when you listen to the playing of the individual. I know Simon's a younger guy, but yeah, these guys are still impressive. They still have it, folks. Check it out.
Yep, yep, for sure. So there you have it. If you've heard it, let us know what you think down in the comments below. Otherwise, go give it a listen and report back. And visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube all together, all the damn
All the
time.
damn time.
Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as a post. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also, down below, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page, and our Cameo page. Thank you in advance for all your support there. We'll see you soon here with more stuff. You'll be seeing Rick again today because we are going to review the brand new sort of live album it's an archival live album from Paul McCartney and Wings called One Hand Clapping. So stay tuned for that in just a few minutes. Till then, I am Pete Pardo for Rick Labonte. Have a good one, everybody.
Take care.
Talk to you soon. Bye bye.